Psychedelics can make you see pretty colors, but what are they actually doing for your color vision? Today on Chromophobe, can hallucinogens, psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, improve your color vision or help your color blindness? There are plenty of observations that seem to suggest this, and it's not just your stoner roommate, it's famous stoners like author Aldous Huxley, who claimed, "Mescaline raises all colors to a higher power and makes me aware of innumerable fine shades of difference, to which at ordinary times I am completely blind." Or Bill Wilson, the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous.
"The LSD experience has helped me very much. I find myself with a heightened color perception and an appreciation of beauty almost destroyed by my years of depression."
Okay, but I get it, right? Like, these guys aren't, ophthalmologists or anything. Here's someone a bit more authoritative on whether hallucinogens can alleviate color blindness, Reddit user 360, who actually'd. "Many colorblind people can see colors while tripping on shrooms and LSD. It has been widely reported. Google it." Yeah, let's Google some of that science. But because Chromophobe is a legitimate science-based channel, we don't use Google here. We use Google Scholar. The first paper that comes up happens to be one of the darlings of the pro-psychedelic community, titled "Improved Color Blindness Symptoms Associated with Recreational Psychedelic Use," and I hate it. But before we look on what's inside, can we all just take a minute to appreciate how awesome your lab must be when your lead principal investigator is literally named DJ Nut? DJ Nut! Awesome. Okay, enough of that, because this is actually a serious academic paper which has recently been referenced extensively as proof that LSD alleviates color blindness by 100% legitimate and trustworthy news organizations, by the way, like Cannabis.net, Psychedelic Spotlight, Avalon Magic Plants, and Microdosebros.com, each of them offering sensationalized headlines like, "Could psychedelics cure color blindness?" or "Are you colorblind? Try magic mushrooms." It probably won't surprise you that these are not the actual conclusions of the paper whatsoever, but that's just those microdose bros doing what those microdose bros do. So not only do the PopSci articles greatly extrapolate the conclusions of the researchers, but the actual evidence used by the original researchers is about as weak as evidence can get. As part of the 2017 Global Drug Survey, an annual questionnaire completed by over 100,000 recreational drug users, the following question was given. "We have received reports from some people with color blindness that this improves after they use psychedelics. If you have experienced such an effect, can you please describe it in the box below, say what drug you took, and how long the effect lasted?" Having collected 382 responses, the author found 47 of those anecdotes useful, and from those 47, half of them indicated some favorable change to color vision. They then applied the controversial maxim that the plural of anecdote is data, concluding that psychedelics not only enhance color vision during the trip, but also enhance color vision in the long term. The question is, how?
Enhance.
Just so we're on the same page. I am colorblind, like most others, because I'm missing a gene that encodes one of my opsin proteins, one of the light-sensitive receptors in the retina. Where most people have 3 different opsin genes, we colorblind only have 2. Do the psychedelics help the colorblind overcome this very fundamental shortcoming? Do magic mushrooms somehow alter my DNA? Of course not, and the authors do acknowledge this when they say, "Psychedelics will not alter the inherent color sensing ability of the optical machinery in the retina." So they agree they can't improve color blindness. However, psychedelics may affect central processing of the color signal from the retina, thus affecting color blindness. Oh boy. Okay, let me rephrase that one in my own words. We know that congenital color blindness is associated solely with the cones in the retina, but LSD does a whole bunch of weird brainy stuff, so LSD cures color blindness. The paper's central argument can be summed up in one word: neuroplasticity, the idea that your brain, when under the influence, is able to make new connections and therefore overcome any kind of neurological or psychological deficiency. I absolutely recognize that psychedelics are likely effective at treating depression or PTSD, but color blindness in almost all cases is neither psychological nor strictly neurological. It is not something that can be addressed by changing any part of your connectome, that is, the wiring diagram of your brain. The authors correctly recognize that the perception of colors is not based solely on the cones in your retina, but on several regions of the visual cortex in the brain. And hell, it's common knowledge that psychedelics do positively affect your perception of color, and to that I can attest.
Oh god, kids these days with their drugs.
Oh, and we're just supposed to believe that world-famous Victorian-era chemist John Dalton wasn't binging daily on opium? Right. It's okay to slander the dead, right? Anyway, so it's possible, probably even probable, that psychedelics alter the processing of color in your visual cortex in your brain. So where's the disconnect between affecting your color vision in a positive way and having no effect on your color blindness? Let's talk about color tasks. Discussion around the subject revolve around words like improving or enhancing color vision. But while you may have an intuitive understanding of what those words mean, intuition and drugs are a dangerous combination. If you were to see the world like a Lisa Frank print, would that be improved color vision? Is seeing a tiger with bright purple fur an enhancement? Well, it can be. Obviously, color vision, a little bit complicated, so let's get a little bit more specific. Every way we interact with color can be categorized into 4 tasks. Comparative, discern if 2 colors are the same, and if different, how different they are. Denotative, relate a color to its name. Connotative, relate a color to some cultural meaning like pink means feminine. And aesthetic, which is the hardest to explain, but any task that involves the visual appreciation of color and color palettes. So, enhancing color vision by enhancing the aesthetic appreciation of color is absolutely a valid interpretation of enhanced color vision. And I don't think anyone would argue that psychedelics don't give you an enhanced aesthetic. Heck, many believe that psychedelics can let you see brand new colors. As the Global Drug Survey paper put it, the notion of a new color being experienced under the influence of psychedelic drugs is not unfathomable. And yeah, I can fathom that. A brain on psychedelics intercepts that retinal signal and distorts it such that the signal evokes the idea of a different color. In extreme cases, the signal can be distorted to such a degree that the evoked color is otherwise impossible to experience in normal conditions. These colors are broadly called impossible colors, and one subset of impossible colors are imaginary colors. Think of imaginary colors this way. Pure 400 nanometer light excites only the blue cones and evokes pure violet. Pure 700 nanometer light excites only the red cone and evokes pure red. So, what wavelength of light can excite only the green cone? There isn't one. All visible wavelengths of light always excite either the S or L cone. So, using light alone, the M cones cannot be excited by themselves, no matter how you pre-filter the light. But what if you were able to distort that optical signal after it reaches the brain, like with LSD? Turn the L and S signals down to 0 such that only the M cone signal was excited. The evoked color is called hypergreen, an imaginary color. If we look at our chromaticity diagram, hypergreens reside in this space outside of the spectral locus because we can't see them normally. Obviously, I'm not a neurologist, but I do believe that such an imaginary color could, hypothetically, be experienced on psychedelics. But hell, let's ask an actual neurologist. You may recognize Oliver Sacks as the author of The Island of the Colorblind, a book and BBC TV special exploring a population of fully colorblind achromats on the tiny Pacific island of Pingalap. But he actually has several essays exploring color and hallucinogens. One of his anecdotes from his 2012 book Hallucinations is particularly appropriate. In 1965, doubtful of the actual existence of indigo, Sachs gobbled a bunch of hallucinogens and willed himself to see indigo, which apparently manifested as a color he never truly experienced before. He spent the next 50 years trying to experience indigo again, unsuccessfully. Sachs believed he hallucinated a color he had never seen before, but he also deferred to famous Scottish philosopher David Hume, who in 1739 introduced the thought experiment, the missing shade of blue, arguing that we cannot imagine a color we have never directly perceived. I am neither neurologist nor philosopher. Did Oliver Sacks really perceive a novel color when on LSD? Well, I'd argue it's not really important, because I'd say it still unequivocally enhanced his color vision in the aesthetic sense. But did it enhance his functional color vision? Could it have alleviated the symptoms of color blindness? Taking another look at the 4 color tasks, color blindness is primarily explained through the effects on the comparative color task, the ability to tell if 2 colors are the same or different. 2 colors that look distinct to a color normal observer can look metameric or identical to a colorblind person. So I would compare those colors differently than my wife would, meaning I suck at comparative color tasks. Can hallucinogens enhance my color vision with regards to comparative color tasks? Alleviate my color blindness? Help me pass the Ishihara test? Say I'm looking at a field of blue and purple. Blue on the left, purple on the right. For the color normals, I'll make the bottom half of the screen a color blindness simulation so you can see the colors indeed look identical to us. When these colors hit a normal retina, they get converted into tri-stimulus values. All the nuances of the light spectrum get condensed into these 3 values represented by the fullness of the circles in this case. Blue and purple have different tri-stimulus values, so are perceived as different colors. When these colors hit a colorblind, dichromatic retina, they get condensed into 2 values. Blue and purple have the same di-stimulus values, so they look identical. By the time the signal encoding those colors is leaving my retina, they're indistinguishable. They are a single color. There is nothing my brain can do to accurately separate those 2 colors since it sees them as the same input. At best, a hallucinating brain will try to notice some non-chromatic difference between the 2 colored regions, like a texture, and emphasize that chromatically by distorting the colors of the textured side until it's different. Different, but not correct. Or even more likely, the psychedelic brain will apply color distortion completely independent of any real differences between the 2 colors, like showing you a differently colored blob that has no relation to the true boundary between the 2 colors. It may look interesting, giving you some aesthetic boost, but none of these distortions will help you accurately compare the 2 colors, know whether the colors are the same or different, and they certainly won't help you name those colors correctly. So I'd argue that a definition of functionally enhanced color vision, especially as it relates to color blindness, should be whether you are more able to differentiate 2 colors that were previously metameric. That is, 2 colors that look the same, but on LSD look consistently and accurately like different colors. Luckily, we've done this, so let's look at some more of the science. A 1982 study by Abraham tested the color vision of 46 LSD users several months to years after their last trip, and actually found that their color vision was worse than a control group. It turns out, LSD, like many other pharmaceuticals, takes a chronic toll on your color vision. However, this study, despite being performed in an era that had access to so many great color standards, used possibly the worst color vision test I've ever heard of, not just from academia, but anywhere. I'm going to save you that rant for the comments, so you can read it there. If we want good science, then we have to go even further back to a 1963 study by Hartman and Hollister that actually measured color vision of subjects before and during hallucinogenic trips. They used the rather sensitive Farnsworth 100 hue test to measure a change of color discrimination ability. The 100 hue test is appropriate here because it is a comparative test. It gets rid of as many of the confounding factors as possible. Give someone a denotative test like, "What color is this toy?" and you are testing language ability as well as color vision. Give someone an aesthetic test like, "Does this picture look better when you're high?" and you are mixing all sorts of other confounding social factors in with the color vision test. That's why all color vision tests for the last century have been purely comparative. While this well-designed 1963 paper found very strong indications of synesthesia, where non-chromatic stimuli can evoke color, they also found that for all their psychedelic drugs, the errors in the 100 hue test got higher, meaning that psilocybin, mescaline, and LSD all made color vision objectively worse. The next question is, are there any drugs that can enhance your color vision, make you more astute at comparative color tasks, whether you're colorblind or not? Unlikely. I could not find any evidence or theory of pharmacological methods to increase your ability to discriminate colors. Nothing that could shrink your McAdam ellipses or decrease your just noticeable difference in color discrimination, and therefore nothing that can improve your color blindness or functional color vision. Quite on the contrary, actually, there are hundreds of drugs, here are a few, that do exactly the opposite, giving negative color vision side effects. So far, photobiomodulation, something I investigated in a previous video, is the only thing that even comes close to improving color vision non-surgically, and that has very narrow applicability. In all of this naysaying though, there is one area that I feel is very promising that I haven't seen anyone discuss yet when it comes to psychedelics and color. Last year, I made a video about gene therapy, the only viable cure for color blindness. Gene therapy introduces missing genes into the retina of colorblind subjects. As of yet, the procedure has two main problems. Number one, it's very invasive, which introduces a lot of risk during the surgery. And number two, it's not effective for adult subjects because adult brains are too rigid to be able to rewire themselves to adapt to the new color vision sensations. You see where this is going. If we were to pair gene therapy with psychedelics to replasticize the brain, we may have a winning combination that greatly improves the efficacy of the gene therapy procedure, meaning that the psychedelics could be a part of a cure for color blindness, just not in the way that the microdose bros seem to think. For the rest of us not undergoing gene therapy, psychedelics will do nothing but make your color vision worse. Absolutely, I believe when the colorblind or anyone claim to see new and fascinating colors when taking hallucinogens. This is exactly why we saw positive anecdotes on color vision in the Global Drug Survey. But this has nothing to do with improved color blindness symptoms, because all of the color mistakes you make sober, you will still make high, and then some. Taking LSD may make you see a beautiful octopus in this Ishihara plate, but that won't help you pass the test when the answer is 74. Let me leave you with another testimonial that I think will help us come down from this trip, from Redditor Manzis. Quote,
I'm particularly colorblind and was convinced I could see all sorts of colors I could not normally see while on acid. I took the test for colorblindness to prove I was right, and I failed it. I just thought I was seeing extra colors. LSD is a hell of a drug, but it can make you think it gives you powers that you don't, in fact, have.
This is Chromophobe.